I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call to quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve. Shield my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no giving. Some days I don't eat, I don't sleep. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous. They don't want it when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need to brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. Bust a family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem, man. Perfect, let them watch me. Elevating, got them nauseous. Cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the option. Woo! Watch how I get ahead. Watch how I get ahead. Watch how I get ahead. Woo!
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts for UFC Vegas 78. We have Vicente Luque going against Rafael Dos Anjos. We have a 13-fight card here. And a card where, man, I have not a lot of action on this card. I actually have no bets at all. I mean, this card is just, so sketchy from top to bottom. Like, the money lines I am considering is like Juliana Miller, who looked awful on the scale today, is not really good at all. And then I was also considering Vicente Luque, who's coming off of a brain hemorrhage. So, I mean, I might not have one bet on this card. I mean, I like, Jacqueline Amarim to get the sub, but, Jacqueline Amarim inside the distance is minus 170, and which is kind of ridiculous for a strawweight. I like the Terrence McKinney under 1.5, but it's minus 300. I like Josh Fremd. I like Marcus McGee, but they're each minus 350. I can't bet on Roundtree fights. I don't do that anymore. So yeah, not a ton really sticking out on this card. The whole Bulgarian fight is a huge question mark. We don't know what he looks like outside of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And Damon Blackshear is now minus 300 out of nowhere. So I won't have a ton of action on this card from a betting perspective. But I do love this card, actually, from a Draftkings perspective. That's where most of my money is going to be going. And I also like it from a prize picks and underdog perspective. So from a fantasy perspective, I actually like this card quite a bit. But from a betting perspective, I'm really struggling to find spots outside of the chalky spots that I mentioned that are just way overpriced this week. So no bets for me as of yet, which is weird because it's a Friday. And typically I have all my action in by like Wednesday night, Thursday morning. I actually already have 2 bets, pretty decent-sized bets for UFC 292 next week. So I already have 5 units total on next week's card, 0 units on this card. I'm thinking about doing a parlay or 2 between UFC Vegas 78 and some spots I like for UFC 292. But outside of that, not going to have a ton of spots. But it should be a fun card from a fan perspective, just a sketchy card, I'd say. Let's get in the chat before we get started. We got Uncle Weezy. First one in here. What is up, Uncle Weezy? Let's go, Brady. Looking forward to some stat diggers Sunday to talk UFC 292, which is a phenomenal card coming up next week. Sean O'Malley, Aljamain Sterling, Zhang Wei Li, Amanda Lemos. Really looking forward to doing some stat diggers, breaking down that card nice and early. I already have 8 of the, I think right now 11 fights for UFC 292 already taped. So I've gotten pretty ahead for next week already, just due to the fact that I kind of hate this card from a betting perspective. We got Business Jeremy in the chat. Almost Brady time. What is up, Business Jeremy? We got Jacob in the chat. Brady striking off the days on the calendar until the Liang Na fight, and you're absolutely correct. I actually have the Liang Na wig right here. It is it was pretty expensive. Like it wasn't cheap. I mean, this is a top-notch wig here. Oh, just terrible smell, but I can't wait to put this on for Liang Na fight week. I've been holding on to that one for a couple weeks now. Got LJ. Let's go, Brady. Another week, another card. This is 100% another card. I agree with that. We got Bill saying fighting our way to the weekend. Yes, sir. What is up, Bill? Another day, another donut. What is up, Pablo? We got Tone Miggins in the chat. Let's go, Brady. Let's go, Tone. We got Carta in the chat. What is up? What is up? 8K in here. We got Tupac. We got Breaking Down the Wall of Lies. What is up? Let's get this money, says Jeff. I agree. Oh my God, Forrest in the chat. It's a beautiful time to be an MMA fight fan. Let's go, Brady, with the squirrel, with the bunny, with the bird. I love it. What will we ever do without Mandy Bum? Yeah, surprised it took them this long to get Mandy Bum out of there, but they finally did it yesterday. I'm not sure if Weezy heard about it, but yeah, Mandy Bum is no longer on the UFC roster after just her atrocious performances in not only the Kim fight, but the Victoria Leonardo fight, and then the Ariana Lipsky fight. Just 3 horrible performances from one Mandy Bum, and she is no longer with us in the UFC. Poliana by sub. Yep, I think if she wins, that's how she does it. I have a Weidman, Willie Parley. I think it's crazy. He's plus 200. Yeah, I'm kind of strongly leaning the Tavares side. Weidman hasn't fought in 2 years. He's coming off that nasty leg injury. He's now 39 years old. And the last time he really looked good was back in 2017 against Kelvin Gastelum. In his last win against Omari Akhmedov, he kind of went life and death with him, and he looked gassed in the second round. But luckily, Akhmedov was even gassed more than him. So I'm actually really strongly leaning the Tavares side in this matchup. And I'm not sure Weidman. I'm actually shocked he's coming back, but they're giving him I don't want to say a favorable matchup, but they're giving him somebody that's not going to have a ton of power. Tony's saying, "What's up, Brady? Sketchy card this week, but some good spots to make some money." I don't know. I don't see any. I don't see one spot that really sticks out to me other than some obvious spots, but just laying a lot of chalk. So let me know what you like. Maybe we can find something. This is a dangerous card. Yeah, it's one of those cards where people are either going to absolutely smash it or this is like a bankroll killer type card. And the reason I don't have any bets this week is because every time this year I've said, man, I hate this card from a betting perspective. And I forced bets. I lost money every time. And I think that's happened 2 times. It happened on the last Vegas card last month where I'm like, I hate this card. And I lost money there. And then there was another card earlier in the year where I was like, man, I hate this card. I forced bets and I lost money. So forcing bets is never a good thing. And I'm fine with having 0 units on a card like this. Chris Weidman is a dead man walking. Yeah, I hate his chances, even against Brad Tavares, who's not dangerous at all. Uncle Weezy's thinking I might take a shot on Killer Miller by sub plus 500 and Amarine first round sub at plus 175. I think both those are very live. I didn't like how Miller looked on the scale. She looked awful, but if she rehydrates, shows up, she's gonna be pretty big on fight day. Samuel in the chat. What's up, Brady? What is up, Samuel? About the sketchy spots. I agree. We got Propaholic in the building. I just made it. Let's go. Weezy said, yes, I needed some good news this week. I did not know Mandy Bum got cut. That just made my day. Yep, she got cut, and Twitter almost blew up. Twitter is very excited about the news of Mandy Bum getting cut. I think a lot of people like you, Weezy, were expecting that. And it came to fruition yesterday, I believe. Get Mandy Bum on the stat figures. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I know my guy Weezy's just not a big fan of Mandy Bum. I'm not. I like breaking down her fights. I like calling her Mandy Bum. It's pretty funny, but I'm not really a fan of her fight style there. I was thinking Miller because I made money on Hardy and just thinking people are swinging too much. Yeah, I think it's a big recency bias spot here where people think Miller sucks, and maybe she does a little bit, but I don't think Luana Santos is that great. So let's try to break down this card. I'm going to try to break it down as good as I can, guys. Like I said, I don't have any action on the card from a betting perspective, but I have a lot of action from a DraftKings and fantasy perspective. So maybe I'll focus more on that. But let's get into it. Oh, don't forget, like, subscribe. I'll be going live tomorrow for Best Bet. Me and Johnny K Picks, one-man show, probably about 30 to 45 minutes. Just want to get a show out there for tomorrow for some Best Bet. And then next week, we'll have a stacked panel for 292. We got Patrick, Addicted to Combat, Danny Betts, and then I'm going to try to get, I think, Narco on as well. So stacked panel for 292 next week for some Best Bet. And then I was thinking about maybe doing a betting breakdown this video, and I was thinking about maybe not doing it because, what's really the point when I'm not betting anything? But I think I might just do it just to talk about the spots that kind of stick out. So maybe expect that later tonight, if any at all. I miss Mandy. Yeah, I kind of miss her as well, but it is what it is. Mandy Bum finally living up to her family name. There we go. All right, let's get into it. We're going to kick off the card with Luana Santos going against Juliana Miller. I think it's a clear recency bias spot. This is a spot where Juliana Miller was literally minus 350 to minus 400 in her last spot against Veronica Hardy. It's a spot where, Juliana Miller looked career best against Brogan Walker in her debut. She looked good. She got on top. She got the TKO in the third round. I thought she maybe turned a corner. And I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it was a bad night for Brogan Walker, but she made Juliana Miller look very good. And, it fooled me and fooled many others. But yeah, I would caution anybody, laying chalk on Luana Santos here. But at the same time, I don't really want to bet Juliana Miller. I think she's a very live dog. I think she could potentially have some success in the grappling. But just the thought of laying any money on Juliana Miller is not something that I think is, worth the risk. Just because, if she does end up winning, at what cost is that to your mental health? Having to have money on Juliana Miller all week, losing sleep, and stuff like that. So I typically like to stay away from these fights, and I have all year, and it's worked out, leaps and bounds. My results have skyrocketed. My mental health has skyrocketed. I no longer, hate my life after laying, chalk on Corey McKenna, Lupe Godinez. So my mental health is probably the best it's been in a while. Just not betting on crap fights like this. But I'm gonna pick Miller to get the upset. But again, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth losing sleep? Is it worth the effect on your mental health? Laying any amount of money on Juliana Miller. And on top of that, she did look terrible at the weigh-ins for what it's worth. So I will be passing on this fight. But yeah, I can't say I'm not, or I was tempted on Juliana Miller. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, why on earth would I bet on Juliana Miller? But for the love of God, I mean, I see people parlaying Luana Santos. Maybe I watched the wrong tape or what, because I don't think she's that great. But in the same breath, like, neither is Juliana Miller. So it's a big pass for me. I'll pick Miller, but I won't be putting any money on it. From a DraftKings perspective, maybe that's where I'll get my money down on it, just because I think Miller could potentially have some success in the grappling. Like Uncle Weezy said, I think the submission could potentially be live as well. So yeah, give me Miller from a DraftKings perspective, if anything. But outside of that, just not a ton of interest whatsoever. Everyone and their brother is on Santos. Yeah, I mean, it's because people think Juliana Miller sucks. But like I always say, don't fade a bad fighter with a bad fighter, and that seems to be what's going on here. And it seems to not work out quite a bit. No bet here for me, but I'm picking Santos to win. Yeah, I like the no bet. I think that's a good spot. This is an easy pass. Agree. Santos is looking good. Yeah, she's looking decent. Sleeping on Dobson. I'm not. I don't know who you're talking about, but I'm not sleeping on Dobson whatsoever. Yeah, my mental health has skyrocketed. It's good. I've been getting better sleep. It's been good this year. It's been a good year, my best year thus far, and hopefully that continues there. Santos is smoking hot. Yep, she is. All right. Fade the pretty new girl. We got Monk in the chat. What is up, Monk? How you doing? I didn't catch your nickname show yet. I'll be out to catch it sometime today, but I'm looking forward to what you had to say about some nicknames there. Fight ends by sub plus 220. I don't know if Santos is subbing Juliana Miller, but yeah, maybe. I'm just watching for a fan for the most part this weekend. Yeah, me too. I don't want to force spots, and I don't want to force any money on Juliana Miller. I think we should move on, guys. Next, we have Damon Blackshear going against Jose Johnson. And yeah, so it's weird. Like it's really weird, actually. So, I taped this fight, and I'm like, I think it was Monday, and I'm like, yeah, Blackshear should probably be minus 300 here. And then I look at the odds on Monday, and Blackshear is minus 300. He opened up minus 200, went to minus 350, was sitting around minus 330. I'm like, yeah, minus 330, minus 310. That makes a lot of sense to me. And then money pours in on Jose Johnson, and Jose Johnson for a second was sitting at plus one, it was sitting at plus 150. And all of a sudden, We saw Blackshear was sitting around like minus 170. It was there for like a day. And then all of a sudden, just money poured in on Damon Blackshear the last couple days. And now Damon Blackshear is back to like minus 280, minus 290. So, yeah, I think it's a very favorable matchup for Damon Blackshear. You know, I think there's a reason why money's coming in on this guy. Jose Johnson has the worst takedown defense I've ever seen in my life. With that said, though, his get-up game is very good. His submission defense isn't great, though. Jose Johnson has been submitted a couple times. Yeah, Jose Johnson, on top of that, he is coming in on short notice. I was curious to see if Jose Johnson would make weight. This guy is a huge bantamweight for the division. He made weight. He actually came in quite early, like one of the first couple fighters coming in, weighed in, looked really good. So I think Jose Johnson might have been preparing for a fight. So yeah, I mean, I like Blackshear here. Do I want to bet him at minus 300? Not really. If you got minus 170, I think first off you did your job, and second off, I think that's a solid line. I know a lot of people that did. Like I went on Twitter, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and all I saw was Damon Blackshear, like big bets on this guy at minus 170. So a lot of people got in on Damon Blackshear. I think he does win, but at minus 300, I don't have a ton of interest. Where my interest does come from, though, is the DraftKings side. We have Damon Blackshear sitting at 8,600 as a minus 300 favorite, a guy with grappling upside, takedown upside, control time upside. So I think Blackshear is very much in play. I liked him on DraftKings at 8,600 when he was even minus 170 for the upside he has on from a DraftKings perspective. Jose Johnson at 7,600, though, I don't think he's the worst play in the world. He's very dangerous, has a ton of power for bantamweight. And if he lands a big shot or if Blackshear gasses out, we have seen Blackshear slow down in the past. Maybe he can get a finish. The only thing I don't like about Johnson in this matchup is Blackshear has fought some very, very tough guys, very good guys. And Blackshear's never been finished in 20 professional fights, 19 professional fights. So, yeah, I like Blackshear here. I don't know whether he finishes Johnson or wins a decision. I thought about maybe the under, but it's kind of juice. So I'm gonna pass on this one, obviously. But yeah, the pick is Blackshear, and I do like him quite a bit from a DraftKings perspective. A lot of people are high on Blackshear. Yeah, definitely a lot of people. Blackshear's birthday is tomorrow. Yep, I saw that. The last person that fought on his birthday was who the heck was it? The guy from London, Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy fought on his birthday and looked very good. And DK gave Blackshear his salary during that one at minus 150 day. Yeah, they did. So they put him at 8,600. I was expecting Blackshear to be at like 93, something like that. Blackshear by, I don't know. I mean, it could be decision, submission. I don't know. I don't have a strong lean whether he finishes them or not. It looks like Jose Johnson's coming in here prepared, though, ready to go. So I may be decision, but no strong lean on that. Am I the only one that thinks Parisian smokes Budai? Probably, but nothing would shock me in that terrible fight. Blackshear by decision's my pick. I lean with you there. Just join any bet on the first fight? Absolutely not. McKenney, Budai, Amarim, and Chukwi, Viana, McGee, you're welcome. Thanks. Moving on to the next fight, we have Jacqueline Amarim going against Montserrat Ruiz. We have Jacqueline Amarim, decent-sized favorite, sitting minus 250. Montserrat Ruiz sitting at plus 210. So, yeah, nothing here. But I guess if I was to play anything, it would probably be they have the same game parlays on DraftKings. And instead of laying minus 250 on Jacqueline Amarim, which just seems extremely irresponsible, I would take a look at the Amarim money line plus like the under 1.5, because Amarim, all of her wins do come in the first round. And the one time we saw her get out of the first round, she looked like complete trash. So, yeah, I think if Amarim does win this fight, it's probably in the first round. It's probably first round sub sitting around plus 175 around there. I think if I was forced to play this fight, I would play that. But luckily, nobody's forcing me to play anything, and ultimately, I will be passing. I do have some concerns. Like I like Amarim, but I'm not as confident as some other people. Montserrat Ruiz, she does have a wrestling background. She is a 10th planet grappler. I'm not sure what belt rank she is. Obviously, Amarim is going to be the much better grappler by a mile, but Ruiz apparently does have some credentials in the grappling in her own right. So that kind of scares me a little bit. And if Ruiz is able to either A, stuff the takedowns, or B, get this extended and survive, she could very well win this fight. So If Ruiz does somehow survive the first round, which I don't think it's the case, I will be looking to bet Ruiz after round 1 from a live bet perspective, just because Amarim looks like she has about 5 minutes of cardio. So the picks Amarim first round sub from a DraftKings perspective. I think you got to target Amarim for her first round submission upside. But yeah, I mean, minus 250, no thank you. Like I said, if anything, it's the first round sub prop or the same game parlay, but I don't know. Let's see. You know what? You're number one, Monk. You're number one. Come on. I wonder if JP Bays gave Ruiz a high five backstage for crushing Cheyenne when they fought. Yeah, I don't know. Can't be betting these ladies' fights and taking your son. I mean, there's some spot. Like I bet Tatiana Suarez last week against Jessica Andrade, and that felt good. I mean, there's some spots that stick out. It's just I don't know. Marine first round submission, but these odds are too wide. Yeah, right there with you. Right there with you. Fade the pretty girl. Which one's the pretty girl? I mean, I think people like both Ruiz and Amarim. But I think Amarim's probably the prettier one. Amarim first round sub plus 165. Not a ton of meat on the bone for a 115-pound fight. Amarim round 2, round 3. I don't know about that, man. I mean, she's never won in the second or third round before. We got James, by the way, your number one, Brady. Been watching you for about 2 years now. Look forward to your videos every week. I appreciate that, James. Thank you so much for watching the past 2 years. Amarim by sub, pretty clear. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear, but sometimes, everything doesn't really work out how it should be, especially in WMMA. 250 is ridiculous. Yeah, not something that you'll catch me laying. We got David in the chat. What is up, David? How you doing? Yeah, Tatiana is no joke. Tatiana is no joke. First time for everything. I know, I mean, I guess, but I mean, I would go back and watch the Hughes fight. I mean, she looked like she's never seen a second round, and she hadn't. She just looked off on the second round. So, should we bet live on Monterrey if round 2 starts? I'll be looking at the line. Potentially, we'll see how. I want to see if Amarim looks completely gassed like she did against Sam Hughes, but we'll see. And we got Mons in the chat. What is up? Salute to you as well. All right, guys, let's move on to the next fight. We have Martin Budai going against Josh Parisian. And if you guys haven't seen the hype video, I posted on Twitter. Posted the hype video on Twitter of Josh Parisian, and it really did pump me up. And that was actually my favorite moment ever in Stat Diggers history with Uncle Weezy, where Josh Parisian was really hitting the bag. And so that kind of pumped me up a little bit. And I think that hype video is probably going to be a lot more exciting than the fight is going to be itself. Martin Budai is a guy who, if he wrestled, I'd probably be max betting him here in this matchup. Josh Parisian made Dontel Mays look like Gilton Almeida out there. Like, Josh Parisian's takedown defense is horrible. Josh Parisian, his ground game, and I know he's a black belt, I guess, but his ground game off bottom it's horrible. Dontel Mays was just destroying this guy on the ground. And Martin Budai, I mean, it's weird. Like, outside the UFC, Martin Budai is getting takedowns. He is getting on top, and when he's on top, he's very good. Great ground and pound, sneaky submission game, brown belt and BJJ. But it's just in the UFC, Martin Budai has shown no interest to wrestle at all. Martin Budai has attempted 0 takedowns in the UFC. So what's going to happen more than likely is Martin Budai is going to push Josh Parisian against the cage for 15 minutes. This fight's going to be terrible. I'm probably not going to watch this fight because why would I? I mean, I know exactly what's going to happen. I remember watching the Jake Collier fight. I mean, it was the worst fight I've ever watched. It felt like it was a 30-minute long fight. I mean, it was terrible. Both guys looked horrible in that fight, and I don't see why this is going to be any different. So give me Martin Budai to win in what's going to be the worst fight of the night. But, I mean, there's no way you can put minus 200 on Martin Budai. I mean, if he wrestled, if I knew for a fact he'd wrestle, sure, because, I mean, he has such a big advantage. It's just he doesn't use that big advantage. And if Budai comes in here with the same game plan he had against Bresky, he probably loses this fight. So I can't trust Martin Budai, but I'll pick him to win. From a DraftKings perspective, it's a clear pass for me. I don't think Martin Budai holding Parisian against the cage for 15 minutes is going to score anything. So give me Budai, but yeah, this fight sucks. Budai by Plank. I could see that. I could see that Plank. I do not get how everyone is on Budai. Maybe it's because Josh Parisian's not that great, but yeah, I don't know. 1-800 gambler fight. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of 1-800 gambler fights, and we'll talk about a 1-800 gambler fight in the next fight as well. But yeah, this is definitely one of them. Let's go, Brady. Let's make that money. Let's do it. Budai gasses late second. Yeah, he did gas a little bit in the Collier fight. Typically has some solid cardio, but Brady, I know you will like this one. I parlayed Amarim and Martin Budai, my whole bankroll. Yeah, if I had to take a guess, I'd say that hits, but man, I don't know. Taking Budai in the sumo weight class matchup. Yeah, they both came in, I think, 266. We got the money liner. What's up, DFS? What is up, money liner? Michael's all over Josh Parisian. Yeah, you're probably the only one, but hey, I mean, it's a sloppy, greasy heavyweight fight. Easiest pick in the card. Now I think you're joking. So I don't think you're being serious now, but weird fight here. Looks like Budai call, but sketching me out these yeah, sketched out to say the least. Mark my words, Parisian easy pick. Let's calm down. Let's calm down, dude. Parisian wins, in my opinion. Yeah, he could. I mean, it's a terrible heavyweight fight that could probably go either way. Budai by Parisian heart attack. Yeah, I thought Jake Collier was gonna have a heart attack in their last fight. All right, Michael, let's calm down, man. Let's calm down. I'll message you on. Let's just calm down. Let's not be. Nobody can be confident in this matchup. Nobody can be confident in this matchup. It's okay to say you're going with Parisian, but it's not an easy pick at all. I mean, nothing's easy about Martin Budai, Josh Parisian at all. So let's calm down a little bit and let's move on to another 1-800 gambler matchup where I mean we just don't know anything. I mean, I've had people, message me, comment this week saying I think, Isaac Dalgarian is the real deal. And maybe he is, but we literally don't know. I mean, Francis Marshall would go out there and do exactly what Dalgarian did to these guys that Dalgarian's fighting. Dalgarian has a 100% finish rate. All of his wins come in 2 minutes and 30 seconds or less. So, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen when Dalgarian battles any adversity whatsoever. I've never seen him throw a punch. I haven't seen Dalgarian throw a punch at range. So, if he doesn't starch Francis Marshall, what is he going to look like? I don't know. I don't know, and that's why I really don't want to bet this fight. For all we know, this guy Dalgarian could have 15-minute cardio, could be tough as nails, could have good striking. He said in an interview that he probably will test his striking a little bit in this matchup. So maybe he is a great striker. I just literally don't know. I mean, I have to pick Marshall here just because I've seen him go into a second round. I've seen him battle some adversity. I've seen him go the full 15 minutes, whereas with Dalgarian, it's just a shot in the dark. Anybody betting on Dalgarian, it's just a shot in the dark. It's a leap of faith. It's a fade on Francis Marshall, who burned a lot of people in his last fight against William Gomi, where Marshall, quite frankly, just did not show up. So this is a big pass for me. One spot that I did consider was like the under or like the fight doesn't go, but like I said, neither guy's ever been finished for what it's worth. And if it turns out Dalgarian has cardio, has this toughness that we don't know about, I mean, this could go 15. So it's a pass. And on top of that, I mean, the fight doesn't go is like minus 200 at this point. So it's a pass for me. This is probably on a fight card with sketchy fights. This is probably the sketchiest one from a DraftKings perspective, is where I think you have to play it, just because Dalgarian, if he wins, maybe it is in the first round. And at 7,600, if he goes out there and starches Francis Marshall, which a lot of people think is on the table, he's going to put up a massive score. On the flip side, Marshall, 8,600, I think the winner of this fight is going to score very well. So I'll be playing this fight on DraftKings, but from a betting perspective, I don't want to part way with my money on a fight with so many unknowns. And this is a spot that, Lou Betcha would be talking about here. And it's the betting unders when neither guy has been finished. Betting unders when neither has been finished. And when that's happened this year, these fights have went over. Like I said, Dalgarian could be the super tough guy with an incredible chin, incredible submission defense, incredible cardio. And laying the minus 200 on a fight with so many unknowns is not something I want to do. But that was the one spot that did kind of stick out, but I just can't get there. It's a big, giant pass for me. I'll pick Marshall to weather the early storm, but I don't know. I don't know. I've had money on Budai before, 4.5 units. Do not be overconfident in Budai ever. Yeah, I remember that. It was against Lucas Bresky, and I had Budai in a parlay that night as well. And it was probably the worst experience of my life, parlaying up Martin Budai. And he won. He won. He lost, but he won. The judges said he won. And then my parlay moved on to the next leg, which was Lupita Godinez against Angela Hill. And I think that night really changed my life because ever since then, I haven't done a stupid ass parlay like that since that Lupi Godinez fight. So maybe I should be thanking Lupi Godinez because that night changed me and my results have skyrocketed over the last year or so. Yeah, it could be. It could be. It could be fighting that potential. I think these guys are going to get after it. Parisian trained with Joey Chestnut, 19-time mustard belt champion. There you go. Marshall scares me with how he pulled a William Knight. Yeah, did he ever, man? I mean, he pulled a William Knight. Marshall landed like 15 strikes in 15 minutes. It was rough. Yep. Bulgarian has been training in Denver for the past couple months. Doubt cardio will be an issue. It should be a great fight. Hopefully. Yep. That is true. He's been in Denver. So that's another thing that just kind of makes me want to stay off this fight. And maybe like I said, maybe he does have cardio. Marshall Bulgarian is another 1-800 gambler fight. I agree. Bulgarian is my favorite dog in DFS. For DFS, yeah, because I think this guy looks very good. And if it turns out this guy can go 15, or if it turns out he can starch Marshall like he's starting some of the other guys, yeah, I mean, for DFS, absolutely Isaac's in play. I've seen Bulgarian training before. I'm taking the dog. Don't hate it. Like I said, it's kind of a leap of faith, but you're getting him at plus money. If it turns out this guy has more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds of cardio to give, yeah, I mean, this guy could be very good. Just a lot of question marks. Marshall by decision with a squirrel, rabbit, bird. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Isn't Bulgarian a wrestler, though? That's why I'm confused. Yeah, he's a very, very good wrestler. Wrestling background and everything. By the way, Brady, how's the wildlife going around the home front? So I saw like 2 deer the other night, which is odd considering I live nowhere near a forest or any woods whatsoever. Like there's like probably, yeah, there's nothing for like a couple miles. So to see a couple deer in my yard was startling to say the least. Other than that, I saw a chipmunk. I don't know if you have a chipmunk emoji, but I saw a chipmunk earlier today. And just your normal birds. I haven't seen a bunny in a while, but yeah, the wildlife is going pretty good lately, I'd say. Budai is terrible. There we go. I don't get how. Let's move on. Let's move on. That fight's horrible, man. Parisian should be minus 150. Like, come on. Brady, your problem is that you learn from your mistakes. Yeah, I think learning from your mistakes is one of the most important things in gambling. Learning from your mistakes. Like, I learned from my mistakes even this year. Like I said at the beginning of the show, every time this year I've said this card sucks from a betting perspective, and I went and forced bets. I've lost on that card every time. And now I'm like, okay, this card sucks for betting. Why would I go out there and force bets when I'm probably going to lose money if I do so? Why not just move on to UFC 92? So I don't think it's a problem at all. I mean, you got to learn from your mistakes, and that I've done, and that's how you improve as a gambler. He's small though, while Marshall's a specimen. What's up, DB? Over 2.5 in the Parisian fight. Yeah, I think it hits money. The only problem is it's just this is a heavyweight fight at the end of the day, and we are laying juice on that over. But I don't know if either guy is really good enough to finish the fight. I've never had deer meat. Never had deer meat. Only one saying, I just have one parlay for this card that I probably put too much on. Not too confident in much else. Also sprinkle Doc is sub plus 800, and that's all my action. Yeah, you have more than me. There's a couple parlay pieces I'm looking at, and we'll talk about them, but I don't know if I'll be getting to much. All right. Bankroll management is key. I know people, it's probably not talked about enough, bankroll management. I try to preach it probably like every other week or so. but it's not talked about enough. It's probably the most important thing when we're talking gambling. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got Terrence McKinney going against Mike Breeden. And yeah, I mean, I remember taping this fight on, I think on Sunday. I got ahead. This was the first fight I taped, and I'm like, yeah, great bounce back spot for Terrence McKinney. I look at the line; he's minus 300, and which, laying minus 300 on Terrence McKinney is never a good idea, just because he has about 5 minutes of cardio. He's taken this fight on short notice. I've seen some people talk about Terrence McKinney decision, which is just kind of ridiculous take there. McKinney has about 5 minutes of cardio. I think he's proven that. And then whenever he does try to pace himself, he still kind of gasses out. So I don't see McKinney winning 2 out of 3 rounds. I mean, quite frankly, that would shock me. And then on top of that, yeah, I don't think he has more than a couple minutes of cardio, especially on short notice. So I think if this fight reaches the second round, Mike Breeden becomes very, very live in this matchup. Yeah, I think McKinney starches Mike Breeden. I mean, there's not much else to say. I think McKinney can either do it by knockout like Alexander Hernandez did, or he can take him down and potentially sub him. The only thing about the sub is Mike Breeden, for what it's worth, is a black belt, a brown belt in BJJ. And as far as I'm concerned, Breeden has not been submitted. No, he hasn't been submitted. He is a brown belt, for what it's worth. I still think McKinney probably could sub him. But yeah, I also think McKinney can go out there, get in his face, and just put him out with strikes. So I think McKinney wins this fight in the first couple minutes. But if this fight reaches the second round, Mike Breeden is super live. And I think if you're into the live betting, I think Mike Breeden is a live bet target this week, obviously, because anytime McKinney's gone to the second round, he's fallen off a complete cliff. And I think that's going to be the case here. I think the under 1.5 is wild. Wildly priced, but I mean, I think it hits minus 300. I mean, you don't see that too often. So I guess the under 1.5 could potentially be a parlay piece. Fight won't start round 3, potentially a parlay piece. Under 2.5 potential parlay pieces. Just super, super chalky, but I'd be shocked if this fight went 7.5 minutes. I'd be just completely shocked if this went 10 minutes, and if this went the full 15. I don't know. I'd be very, very surprised. So yeah, I mean, it's McKinney from a DraftKings perspective. McKinney on DK, one of my favorite plays, 9,200. If he wins, like, he has the 60-second bonus. I think 60 seconds is very much in play for McKinney. And then obviously Breeden's probably not the worst pump play in the world, because if he can survive the first 5 minutes, I'm pretty certain he's going to win the fight, because Terrence McKinney has the worst cardio I've ever seen. Scare money don't make money. Yep. Potential parlay pieces, please. I don't know. I don't know. Come back to me with that question. Terrence McKinney. Yeah, Shin's not amazing. McKinney by decisions plus 550. I would need like plus 1,600 for a Terrence McKinney decision. I'll tell you that right now. McKinney by decision. It's like plus 1,200, plus 1,200, plus 900. Under 1.5 is not minus 305. It is on some books. Under 1.5, I see at minus 300, minus 345 on Bet Rivers. My goodness. And I see minus 280 looks like the best price on the under 1.5. McKinney by decision. I mean, yeah, that would be the most shocking outcome I've ever seen in my life. 3 certainties in life, death, taxes, and Terrence McKinney fights ending early. I think so as well. If T-Rex is not bull rushing, he's making a mistake. And yeah, I think he knows that. At least I hope he knows that. McKinney folds at the first sign of adversity. He's terrible. I think he's an amazing fighter, but in the first 5 minutes. McKinney KO 1-2 plus 175. Yeah, but he could sub him is the only thing, but I don't hate it. Roundtree's going to retire Chris. He might get Chris cut. I mean, if Chris loses that fight, it's going to be his 4th loss. Breeden KO 2 plus 1,000. Yeah, Breeden round 3 is something crazy too. What if it's the draw? McKinney 10-8s in the first? I mean, that could happen. Could happen. I don't know if McKinney's surviving, though, is the only thing. But yeah, let's move on to the next fight. We have Marcus McGee going against JP Bays. Yeah, so I mean, I like Marcus McGee here. A lot of people on JP Bays, though. A lot of people on JP Bays. Just because, if what has McGee struggled with, and the answer to that, the only time he has struggled is he has been submitted. He got taken down and subbed a couple years ago, and I think that is JP Bays' path to victory. But I think that's really his only path to victory there. If you like JP Bays, first round sub is how he gets it done. Anytime that JP Bays has battled any adversity whatsoever, he's folded, he's quit in there. JP Bays has been finished in four of his five losses, and the one time he went to the decision, I mean, I kind of count that as a finish. Where he got knocked down like 20 times by Montel Jackson. For some reason, Montel didn't want to finish the fight, and the ref probably could have stopped it. I mean, it was a complete beatdown. JP's been knocked down 8 times in the span of 3 fights, which is probably a record. So I do want to take a moment to shout out JP Bays and the fact that he has been knocked down 8 times, because I don't think that has ever happened in the UFC. You think of guys like Malcolm Gordon and Jason Witt, and I don't even think they have 8 knockdowns combined. So shout out to JP Bays. That is a very impressive number. And it's a number that I don't think will be touched for a very long time. So he has that going for him. He's good at getting knocked down. So yeah, I mean, it's JP Bays first round sub or bust, or McGee's going to knock this guy out. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. I think violence is very much in play. Shout out to my guy Propaholic. He got minus 155 on the under 2.5. That would have been a max bet for me. The under 2.5 is now like minus 320. So I don't really want anything to do with that. But I think it's a parlay piece. I think the under 2.5 is a parlay piece. The fight doesn't go as a parlay piece. Don't know if I love the under 1.5. I would lean towards it finishing under 1.5, but I could see a McGee late second round finish as well. So yeah, violence here, if anything. JP Bays first round sub. If you're playing JP Bays at all, I will not be doing that, but that's probably his win condition there. From a DraftKings perspective, McGee's super expensive. 9,600 is wild. But he has like huge upside just because he can knock down JP Bays like 20 times, and knockdowns count as 10 points. So yeah, he can knock down Bays a lot. So I think McGee is in play, even though he's super expensive. And then JP Bays, like I said, he's a solid dart throw, just because if he wins, it's first round submission there. So yeah, solid fight, but I think McGee probably starts JP at some point. Poor JP. It's funny you say that, because that's the exact phrase I said when I was taping this fight. It was poor JP. Yeah, JP is coming back up to bantamweight, which I don't like. Bays looked iffy at weigh-ins, not terrible, maybe just not mentally in a great spot. Yeah, he's coming to weight class, which I think may help him, but I don't know. And I agree with Bulla here. McGee's stats are inflated in the face-offs. They looked the exact same height. I agree, they did. Montel Jackson's scary. Yes, he is. Bays has nothing to lose besides his UFC contract. Yep, he's on a 3-fight skid. 3-fight skid, so he needs to win this fight. Tone on the fight to start round 2, minus 140, 2 units. I don't know, Tone. That's terrifying with these guys, but maybe he could hit. Brady, what underdog is most in play on the prelims? Unfortunately, it's probably, for me, it's probably Juliana Miller, but I will not be betting that fight. Or Isaac Bulgarian, maybe. One of those two. I kind of like Dobson as a dog now after the weigh-ins, but I think he's on the main card. I see JP Bays having extremely low possibility of winning this. More likely he takes over Malcolm's rep as the Chinny SD. I think he probably did at this point. We could take a look at Malcolm Gordon. Malcolm Gordon's been knocked out a lot of times, but he hasn't been knocked down 8 times. I'll tell you that. That is very, very impressive numbers there by JP Bays. So Malcolm Gordon, if I had to take a guess, I'm going to say he's been knocked down 5 times. Malcolm Gordon's been knocked down only twice. My goodness, JP. Malcolm Gordon's been knocked down twice in the UFC. So, wow, maybe I should give Malcolm Gordon a little more credit. Maybe this guy's chin is not as bad as I thought. Let's take a look at Jason Witt. When you think of chins, you think of Jason Witt. Witt has been knocked down only 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So, man, JP has more knockdowns than Jason Witt and Malcolm Gordon combined, and JP only has 3 fights. That is ridiculous. Are there any locks this weekend? Absolutely not. And if somebody tells you otherwise, I'd really like to know. Dawson by decision. Yeah, plus 500. There you go. I kind of like that. OMG, Pollyanna. What about her? 200 in the chat. Hit the like button, peeps. Yes, sir. Hit the like button. Maybe JP just keeps getting up after a knockdown. Yeah, it could happen. Maybe McGee knocks him down 20 times. We've seen it before. But yeah, we'll move on. We got Josh Frem going against Jamie Pickett. Another pretty wide line here. Josh Frem, massive favorite. And I mean, it's one of those fights where you want to lay minus 350 on Josh Fremd. No. But do you want to put money on Jamie Pickett? Absolutely not. Like if I bet on Jamie Pickett and he lost the fight, he went out there and did it in typical Jamie fashion, went out there and did nothing. And he lost the fight, and I bet on Jamie Pickett. I mean, I probably wouldn't show up next week. I mean, I probably would throw in the towel. I would no longer be doing content because I couldn't look myself in the mirror having a bet on Jamie Pickett and him going out there and losing the fight. So, with that said, though, I'm not parlaying up Josh Fremd. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to play him at minus 350. And even like I've been making a ton of money on Jamie Pickett fights. Like I bet Dawkins money line. I bet Bo Nickel under 1.5 rounds. I bet Dennis Tuoluen by knockout as well. But even in this fight, like Josh Frem inside the distance, you're laying chalk, minus 140, where I could see Josh Frem potentially winning a decision. So there's no way I want to bet this fight. Josh Frem's too big of a favorite, but there is no way I would ever even think about putting any money on Jamie Pickett, ever. Just never, ever, 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 ever. So, yeah, I'm not betting this fight. I think Josh Frem wins this fight. I don't know how he wins it, though. I think he can knock out Jamie Pickett. I think he can win by submission. I think he can win by decision. I'm not sure how he gets it done. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't love this fight at all. It's a Jamie Pickett fight, so it's probably going to be a terrible fight. If anything, it's probably playing some Josh Frem at 9,400, but there's so many great options in this 9K range that Josh Frem is not a play that I absolutely love this week. So it's a pass from a betting perspective. And it's a pass from a DraftKings perspective. And it's probably as well, like a couple others, it's probably going to be a terrible fight because it's a Jamie Pickett fight. And I don't think I've ever seen an exciting Jamie Pickett fight outside of, the Bo Nickel fight, which is exciting because it's Bo Nickel. So, yeah, another fight where like I want nothing to do with it. What about her? You tell me. You said OMG Pollyanna, and I said what about her? And you said what about her? I don't know. You tell me. There's never a lock in MMA. Yeah, never. Nothing's a lock, man. You got James Yomain. Would you ever do a stream with Addicted to Combat, like both his and your content, and think hearing both insights at once would be nice? Yeah, because I've done like a ton of streams with him already. I mean, I've been on his show probably 2 or 3 times now, and then he's been on Best Bet. He's one of the participants. He's been on there like 6 or 7 times. So we've done a lot of shows together already. So the answer to that is yes. Amareem is fine. No way she's losing, says Gunny. Pollyanna Viana too. I mean, just because somebody's fine doesn't mean they can't lose. But yeah, I think Amareem does win. I don't know. I think JP submits this guy. Yeah, you and a lot of people do. I mean, it's going to be on the table, but it's got to be in the first round. Is it true about the Colby rumor? LMAO. That's what Pollyanna's saying. That's what Pollyanna's saying. Goodness, Gunny. Let's calm down. What's the Colby rumor? The rumor is, I don't know. I mean, Pollyanna commented under a tweet saying that Colby wanted her to finger his ass, and apparently Viana said no, and then apparently Colby got upset, is what Pollyanna said. So that's what happened. We got Adrian, $20 dono. Appreciate Adrian. He says Andrade was probably my worst bet ever. Bad call. Thanks to Jacoby, though. Good call there. I saw that fraud Kennedy dying. And then this card is a trap. So yeah, you went. So you got Andrade wrong, which I get it. I mean, it was a big plus number there. I just think Andrade is probably done at this point. She's shown up for a paycheck. But yeah, good call on Jacoby. Jacoby made it look easy for you. No sweat there. So shout out to you for that. And then, yeah, this card, the trap, I mean, I couldn't agree anymore. I mean, I think this card is a huge trap, hence why I don't have any money on this card. And people may not like it. I'm sure there's gonna be a couple people. How are you passing? I mean, I don't really want to bet on Juliana Miller. I don't really want to bet on a lot of these fights, so I agree. Tatiana was a lock. Yeah, I liked her to win. I wasn't like extremely confident in it, but she made it look pretty easy. John Jones is always a lock, close to it. Got my guy Ace in the chat. What's up, Brady? What is up, Ace? Friend to score more takedowns, minus 160. That kind of. Oh, it's not a joke. It's not a joke, Gunny. It's not a joke. It's Fremd to score more takedowns, minus 160. The only thing that scares me about that is Fremd has trash takedown defense, like trash. And if Pickett tries to take him down, he probably will. But I think I would lean towards it hitting, I'd say. Ain't no way Colby hit that. I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. Last time Friend missed weight, 189 was pre-UFC, and he looked awful in that fight. Sloppy fight all around, and this could be a sloppy fight. Colby, oil check Covington. There you go. Andrade just needed one more paycheck to fund her filming production equipment for more OnlyFans content. So I heard that she shut the OnlyFans down, which I do have mixed emotions about. On one hand, I think it's probably for the best, but on another hand, I thought it made for funny content to talk about. But she had to shut it down. Me and Weezy were talking about it. Apparently, we were thinking maybe the government went in and had to shut that down because for obvious reasons. I mean, it's just something that shouldn't be allowed on the internet is what I'm thinking. So yeah, apparently Andrade is no longer doing the OnlyFans, but there are a couple fighters on this card that are. I think Juliana Miller has that OnlyFans going. Shout out to Dixon, who pointed that out to me. And apparently, Juliana Miller's on that OnlyFans. All right. The government stepped in. I don't know much about the government where Andrade is from, but apparently they stepped in and they had to go in there and shut it down for obvious reasons, like I said. All right. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Tafon and Chukwi going against AJ Dobson. Super close fight here. And with the weight miss, I wasn't really confident in Tafon to begin with. I have serious concerns about the chin. I just thought that he's probably going to be the minute winner. AJ Dobson just super low volume, just doesn't do a ton, whereas Tafon is kind of the opposite. Tafon can go out there and land a lot of volume, but with the weight miss, I'm not sure what's going on with Tafon. And by the way, I don't know if Tafon's always like this, but Tafon walked up to the scale today, and I swear I was watching it for like 3 minutes. It was the slowest walk I have ever seen. Like, I'm like, what's going on, Tafon? He just took his good old time walking up there. And I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. But then he got on the scale. He was like, 190 just about. Like, he came in like 4.5. I mean, it was a really bad weight miss for Tafon. So yeah, I was slightly leaning Tafon, like ever so slightly, just for the minute winning ability. And actually, there is a play that I kind of liked, and this would have actually been a bet for me. I kind of missed the line, but Dobson, the finish only, scorecards, no action, was at plus 100. And I wish I would have jumped in on that. Now it's minus 120. I don't think that's like the worst look in the world, just because I think if there's a finish, it's probably going to come from the Dobson side, especially considering Tafon, did not look great on the scale. So I think the finish only for Dobson is something I'd consider betting. Would have liked it a lot better at plus 100, but minus 120 is not the worst look in the world. So yeah, give me I don't want to change my pick just because of the weigh-ins, but I'll still side with Tafon to ever so slightly edge it out. But my confidence was already very low, and now it's even lower than it was. So give me Tafon by decision, just by doing more across 15 minutes. But yeah, major concerns about the weigh-ins, I'd say. And major concerns about how slow he was. I mean, if he's going that slow up to the scale, like he's going to look like that in the fight, I don't know. I mean, that was bad. What do you mean the government stepped in? I mean, it was a clear joke. I mean, I think it's a joke. Maybe they did, but I was joking. Uh, the government has a say. They should. Somebody should have a say in some of these OnlyFans, man. Like some of these need shut down. I mean, it's wild. Fade Tefon, yeah, I wouldn't lay chalk on Tefon. AJ looked like a twig. Yeah, Tefon's more jacked, whereas Dobson's gonna be the taller fighter there. Um, does anyone know if Pollyanna? I'm pretty sure she does. Like I'm 80% sure. I know my guy Dixon is a fan of the OnlyFans. I know Dixon. I don't know if he's in here, but he would know. Uh, yeah, I mean he's coming off of two brutal knockouts: the knee against Azamat, the liar, and then the 60-second knockout against Carlos Ulberg. So yeah, just a lot of red flags there. I was torn of this fight before. Now I think I'm staying away from Dobson. Yeah, I'm staying away from Nchukwi as well. No, I'm not. No, it's all good. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I made a mistake about a year ago parlaying up Lupe Godinez with Martin Budai, and I also made a mistake playing Gina Mazzani. Uh, who was it? No, I played Gina Mazzani at -160 against Shanna Young. So I made playing mistakes as well, Gunny. We all make mistakes. We're human. So okay. Yeah, it might be. I haven't looked into Bellator. I've been looking into 292. I have 8 fights taped already for 292. I've been looking into Contender Series for next week. I have 2 out of 5 fights taped for Contender Series. I haven't looked into Bellator, but on paper it does look pretty good. So you don't do any parlays anymore? No, I do. I don't parlay up, Lupe Godinez. I don't like for example, I'm not parlaying up what's something I would do in the past. In the past, I don't know, parlay Martin Budai. I don't know. I just really try to pick my spots when it comes to parlays, especially because parlays are tough to hit. There was a while where I was just going on a terrible swing on parlays, just losing every single parlay, and I do two leggers at the most. Nowadays, I am picking my spots more, and I am doing pretty well on parlays this year. Or saying the way you break down these fights is just pure genius. I absolutely love your show every week. Donations to come in the future. Thank you, Forrest. You're always in here with the rabbit emojis, all the emojis. Appreciate you for hanging out. I try to break down these fights as best as I can, and I try to bring up points that just aren't talked about throughout the week, like the Jessica Andrade OnlyFans, right? Like that is something that you won't hear as much as you should, and it's a factor. You got to factor these things in to your handicapping. No, Fasha. I don't personally know Ian Parker, but I know he's doing some work with ESPN. Uh, in a fight like Dobson and Chukwi, if the fight goes the distance and it's a pretty even fight, do you think the weight miss is a factor to the judges? It shouldn't. It shouldn't be. But with these corrupt judges, that I wouldn't put it past them, right? So I would say no, it shouldn't, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. You ever do lottery style parlays? The only time I really do those is when I'm going to an event. Like I did one for 290. I did one for another card I went to, the Volkanovski Ortega card, where I'll do like a full card parlay for fun just because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching every fight. But outside of that, I try not to do those. Why don't you ever live bet? Is it because you don't always watch the events? I live bet sometimes. I don't do it as much as I should, but I tried to lie. I tried to go into the week and like circle a matchup where I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at this from a live bet perspective. Like for example, Billy Q last week, incredible live bet target. There's just obvious ones week in and week out where I will, pre-fight look for a live bet entry. But yeah, I'm not really sitting there like, oh, I'm gonna live bet this. But a lot of people do, and a lot of people have success doing it. Shout out to Narco. He does a live bet companion on Twitter every week, and they make a ton of money doing that. We got my guy Michael with the 9.99. Appreciate it, Michael. He says, "Keep it up, bro. I will keep it up." Appreciate you for the dono and the kind words there. Appreciate that. All right. Uh oh. And we got another one from DB. The donuts are flowing, guys. Appreciate you. He says, love the content. I'm creating a super degenerate parlay, and I need your help with 3 of the 5 legs. You want me to give you 3 legs? This is a card where I would not recommend any parlays, but since you did, send a very generous dono, I will try to help you out. Do you want chalky or do you want like greasy? Because there's some chalky legs I think are very much parlayable. Like I think the Terrence McKinney, Mike Breeden under 1.5 is a very good parlay piece at minus 280. I think the McGee Bays fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 400 is a very good parlay piece this week. Those are 2 that kind of stick out from a parlay piece perspective. And then other than that, I don't know if I can give you a third, man. I really don't. I really don't know if I can give you a third. Those are like the only 2. Um, I don't want to say Budai. I don't want to say anything in the Marshall fight. Maybe Josh Frem, just because, is Jamie Pickett really going to win a UFC fight? Maybe Josh Frem, but even that is not something I love. So I gave you 2 that I do like. I'm not sure I can give you a third that I like. This card is kind of rough for parlays, man. Like very rough. If you want a greasy, I think like a greasy parlay leg could be like Amareem on DraftKings. They do the same game parlays, Amareem plus the under 1.5 at plus 120. I think that's a great way to get the price tag down. That's a greasy leg. I don't mind. The McKinney round 1 and McKinney to win in round 1 is a greasy leg that, should come through. So I don't know. It was awesome seeing you and Clint break down together this week. Yeah, Clint's having a heck of a year. We both are having a heck of a year, but he's having a crazy year, man. I mean, I think Clint's up like 80 units this year, which I'm up like 50, and I'm very happy about that. But 80 units is just freaking wild. Shout out to Clint for going out there and just turning his year around like the way he did. It's amazing to see. I'm a big fan of Clint. Agreed. Greasy, I mean, chalky is like, for me, chalky is like when you're laying like minus 300, minus 400. Greasy is when it's just like, it could be just like greasy, like for example, greasy is like Martin Budai, like that's greasy. Betting on the Marshall Bulgarian fight, it's a greasy spot. Betting Juliana Miller, so greasy, like that's greasy for me. I know Uncle Weezy does like a greasy parlay every week. I'm not sure if he's doing it this week, but sometimes he gets a little greasy with some of the spots he puts in there, and they're big plus money typically. So those do add up. Yeah, shout out to Clint, man. Shout out to Clint. Roundtree easy money. Roundtree and easy money shouldn't be in the same sentence, in my opinion. All right, let's move on. We have Yasmin Lucindo going against Polyana Viana. I mean, I guess there was 2 spots that I had circled for this week, but they are all over them. So the 2 spots I had circled were the Polyana Viana, the finish only. I thought since she is a decent sized dog, I thought for sure like that finish only would be plus money at least. But the finish only for Polyana Viana is minus 160. Get out of here. Like that is that's wild. So I was hoping for a plus money finish only for Polyana. That's not going to happen. I know the under in the fight doesn't go is a very popular play, and I don't think it's the worst play in the world just because it's a Polyana Viana fight. What worries me about the under is the fact that Polyana Viana is really durable. Polyana's never been knocked out. She's only been subbed once. Is Lucinda going to sub Polyana? Absolutely not. I think if Lucinda does finish this fight, it's got to be by knockout, and she's never been knocked out. So that's my one concern in terms of the violence, in terms of the under. And I thought about it. The under was like plus 190, but it's not plus anywhere near plus 190 now, I don't think, because this line has gotten just like everybody's playing it this week. So it is now sitting at plus 150. I don't think it's the worst look in the world, but I could easily see, Lucinda going out there, winning minutes on the feet, getting takedowns, or Viana pulling guard and Viana losing minutes on the mat. I could see a Lucinda decision. It's another fight that I don't really have much interest in. From a DraftKings perspective, I actually kind of like Polyana 7,500. Like if Polyana wins, it's probably a sub, and it's probably in the first round. Lucinda's been subbed twice. It is something to note that she hasn't been subbed since 2017, which, I think she was, or 2018 or 2000, somewhere around there, when she was like 17 years old. So, maybe she's patched up that hole in her game. She was so young. But yeah, Polyana Viana is, live to submit many fighters in the division. Polyana Viana is very dangerous off her back. Just ask Colby Covington. So give me Lucindo to win a decision, I guess, but I don't know. I had a bet on Tabitha Ricci against Polyana Viana, which was a great bet because for obvious reasons, like Ricci's a black belt, she wasn't getting subbed by Viana. She was winning, all the minutes. I did not feel comfortable watching that fight with a bet on Ricci just because every time the fight hit the mat, you're like holding your breath. Like Viana is so dangerous on the ground. And if it turns out Lucindo hasn't patched up those holes in her game, it could be bad, and Viana could go out there and submit Lucindo. So, I mean, the pick's Lucindo. It's hard to ever pick Polyana Viana. It's hard to ever pick her just because she doesn't win any minutes. She's a minute loser. But so I'm going to pick Lucindo, but I don't love it at all. Budai by split decision, plus 800. Could get greasy. Could see a split. Polyana Viana is a good BJJ practitioner and a pretty face, but Lucinda has all the tools to beat her. Lucinda by KO or sub in the late first or second. Maybe she is the first one to knock out Viana. Polyana is not getting subbed and has never been KO'd. I love the finish only, minus 160. I was just hoping for a much better number. I thought, because a lot of people think that Lucindo is going to finish Polyana. So I was thinking, maybe you do get it at a plus number, but that does not seem to be the case there. 201 peeps in here, only 49 likes. Yeah, see if we can get 100 in here. For every 25 likes while I'm here, Brady gets $10. Look at that. Appreciate Adrian. Adrian has been probably one of the most, if not the most generous donator on the channel. Really do appreciate Adrian. Support the fellas, hit the like button. I agree. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes by the time we get out of here. 190 viewing here, which is awesome for a card like this. Why doesn't FanDuel have props? Yeah, the books in general just were kind of slow in getting out props this week, and FanDuel seems to be like the last book ever. This is where I differ. You and I differ, Brady. I always have an interest in a Viana fight. No, I have interest in it from a fan perspective, not a betting perspective. And then he says, plus that sneaky Colby comment you just dropped tonight. Yeah, I mean, it's all true. It's all true. I think Lucinda is being overrated. She couldn't finish an off of Brogan Walker. Yeah, she couldn't. Who wasn't even fighting back. Yeah, I would have liked to see her finish Brogan Walker. I mean, Brogan just showed nothing in that fight. And she had one entertaining striking match. Polyana will big sister her. We'll have to see. All right, let's keep moving on. We have Khalil Roundtree going against Chris Daukaus. Money has been pouring in on Chris Daukaus all week. Looks like we have Roundtree minus 170 and Chris Daukaus plus 145. So there are some fighters where I just don't bet their fights anymore. I mean, there's some fighters where, I can't bet their fights anymore. Like, how am I supposed to bet a Khalil Roundtree fight where this guy is so inconsistent? It's wild to me. Sometimes Khalil Roundtree shows up and just looks like an absolute killer. Most notable was that Eric Anders fight where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Khalil Roundtree, training in Thailand, hanging out in Bangkok, all of a sudden comes in there against Eric Anders and just looks the best he's ever had. And then he goes out there against Marcin Prachnio. The same Marcin Prachnio who's been finished so many times, all in the first round. And he not only doesn't knock out Prachnio, but he loses to Marcin Prachnio. The same Marcin Prachnio who has, horrible cardio, a horrible chin, All he throws is like, how do you lose to Marcin Prachnio in the UFC, Khalil Roundtree? And then he shows up against Carl Roberson, and it was such a great performance by Roundtree. I remember, Roundtree prior to that fight starting, the camera got right in his face, and he was ready. You knew that Roundtree was about to show up and show out, and did he ever? And I went back and watched that fight. I remember the commentators were just saying it looked like Carl Roberson stole Khalil Roundtree's lunch money. I mean, Khalil Roundtree looked angry in that matchup, and if he shows up angry here, he's probably going to starch Chris Daukaus, who's been starched many, many, many times. Chris Daukaus is coming down to light heavyweight for what it's worth. So he's not going to be getting hit by, big heavyweights anymore. But, I can assure you, Khalil Roundtree hits very, very hard. So, yeah, how does Daukaus win this fight? I don't know. I mean, are people expecting Daukaus to take down Khalil Roundtree? Daukaus, for what it's worth, is a black belt, but he's attempted, I think, 0 takedowns in the UFC. So is that going to change here now that he's at a new weight class? I'm not so sure. And even if he does come in here and wrestle, is he going to be able to take down Khalil Roundtree? I'm not so sure. So if they're striking for 15 minutes, I kind of like Roundtree here. So I think one of these guys are very durable, Roundtree, and one of these guys aren't. And I think, Roundtree probably knocks him out. But with all that said, I can't ever bet. I mean, if you're losing to Marcin Prachnio, I mean, he could easily lose the Daukaus if he shows up and doesn't show up, right? If he doesn't show up at all, he could lose to Chris Daukaus here. So there's just some fights where Roundtree looks amazing, and there's some fights where Roundtree looks like a complete bum. And I don't want to flip a coin on whether Roundtree shows up or not. So that's just me personally. If I was forced to bet this fight, it would absolutely be on the Khalil Roundtree side, though. But a lot of people on Daukaus, apparently. A lot of people on Chris Daukaus. This line's coming down very, very quickly. And I'm curious to see where this line does go. So, yeah, minus 170 now for Roundtree. I'm hoping Chris will use his BJJ after getting knocked out in 3 straight fights. I don't know. Like, if he hasn't used it yet, will he now? We'll have to see. I mean, if he does use it and it turns out, Daukaus is some amazing wrestler that we don't know about, because Roundtree's ground game is not great, but I don't know. Didn't like Roundtree on the scales. He looked nervous. He looked in incredible shape, but I didn't really notice any nervousness. Maybe I'll go back and check, but Daukaus are not UFC caliber. I know Kyle got cut, and if Chris loses this fight, he's going to get cut, which sucks. I like the Daukaus brothers, man. I do. I think they're entertaining. They're fun, but they just ran into some very tough matchups. I sure hope he can. Is that what people were thinking? Is that why this line's coming down? I don't know. I mean, if he does get him down, like Roundtree's ground game is not good, but we'll see. Daukaus for a sub for funsies plus 1,400, 800. Yeah, 1,400 is kind of wild for. I mean, he has a black belt. Best live dogs. I think there's. I mean, you can make a case for all 13 dogs on this card. I think Luke is a live dog. I think Viana's a live dog. Dobson's a live dog. I think Mike Breeden's a live dog after the first round. Bulgarian's a live dog. Parisian's a live dog because that fight sucks. Jose Johnson's very dangerous. Juliana Miller's I think all these dogs are super live this week. My favorite live dogs, I think Luke's super live. I like Dobson more as a live dog now that he Nchukwi missed weight and looked horrible walking up to the scale, and then probably Juliana Miller, but you won't catch me betting on that fight. Kyle got, I believe he had a fight outside the UFC as well. So yeah, which kind of sucks. I don't think he should have been cut, but yeah, nothing wrong with that. I mean, if he gets the fight down the mat, that sub prop's going to look very live. I know, right? I mean, Pickett's on a 3-fight skid, so I know that's a great point. Some of these cuts just don't make a ton of sense. But we will move on to the next fight. We have Hakeem Dawodu going against Cub Swanson, and not a ton sticking out here. I think Swanson looked horrible in his last matchup against Jonathan Martinez, and maybe that had something to do with cutting down a weight class at this point of his career. but he's back up to 145. So maybe that's going to help Cub Swanson a little bit. The problem I have with this fight is I think, Cub Swanson is, like I said, definitely towards the end of his career. I think the durability is really starting to wane. He's not taking shots to the body, to the legs that well. We've seen that in the Giga fight, the Martinez fight, and Dawadu does mix it up to the body and the legs. So I think a Dawadu finish is very much in play. The problem is Dawadu just doesn't finish anybody at all. So it's a prop I had circled. Dawadu inside the distance, Dawadu by knockout, but we're getting a trash price tag on it. Why should I only be getting plus 150 on Dawadu inside the distance when this guy's not finishing anybody at all? So I thought, Dawadu finish was, somewhat of a hot take, but apparently not. Dawadu inside the distance. Oh my gosh. It's plus 110. That's horrible. How are you going to play a Dawadu finish prop at plus 110 when he's not finishing anybody? Could he finish Cub Swanson? Yeah, he probably should, but I would need a much better price tag on that. So yeah, that's awful. That is an awful price. Plus 104 for Hakeem to go out there and finish a fighter in the UFC is just kind of ridiculous to me. Some of these prices this week are just ridiculous. And that's one of them. My goodness. So I'm gonna take Hakeem to probably finish Swanson in the third round. But yeah, no bet for me. From a Draftkings perspective, Hakeem's an easy fade. I mean, he's not going to wrestle. I don't think he finishes Swanson early. If anything, it's probably Swanson on DK. But yeah, give me Dawadu to get it done. And I think this might be the last we see of Cub Swanson. Killer Cubs on the decline. He's almost 40 and has been in wars. Yeah, he's taken a ton of damage. Almost 40 years old. I think it's all starting to add up. You think of this fight to start round 3 minus 160? I think it hits. I think it does go to round 3 myself, but it could get iffy. Team is one of our best Canadians. Good matchup for him. They want some Canadian fighters bad. Yeah, he's solid. He's solid. He's solid. Wanted to win by decision. He doesn't finish any one pillow. I mean, I can't disagree with that statement, man. The Wadu by decisions plus 165, plus 210. Don't hate it. Canadian MMA is washed. I think you might want to go and check out the Canada card we had for 289. I mean, they went like 6-0. I will bet Miller 5 units. I was tempted to go like a half unit on her. A half unit. I can't do 5 myself, but I'm probably not even going to do a half unit on it. Miller, Santos, Parisian, Budai, Luque, RDA, all over 1.5 rounds plus money. Is it hitting? Yes. Yes, I think it's hitting. All right. Main event time. We have Vicente Luque going against Rafael Dos Anjos, and I just want to check something here. We have 80 likes. 80 likes. So if we can 81, look at that. 81 likes. If we can get 19 more, that'll make me very. If we get 19 more, maybe I'll put on the Liang Na wig. No, I won't do that. I gotta save it. I gotta save the Liang Na wig for UFC Singapore, and I cannot wait to put this thing on in honor of Liang Na, who is going against JJ Aldrich. And by the way, JJ Aldrich is minus 1100 against my girl Liang Na. So yeah, not a lot of people giving Liang Na a chance here, including myself. I think she gets starched, but it's gonna be awesome for Liang Na fight. We get something I've had circled for a long time now. Really looking forward to seeing Liang Na mid-August, mid to late August coming up here. But back to this matchup. We have Dos Anjos is the slight favorite. We have Dos Anjos like minus 115, minus 120. And then we have Luque sitting at minus 105, plus 100. So, I mean, it's a big narrative fight for me, this one. I think it's I don't want to say a great matchup for Luque, but there's a lot of things I like about Luque in this matchup. He is going to be the bigger guy. RDA is a guy that's fought a lot of his career at lightweight. Very, very small for welterweight. I mean, RDA is 5'8". I mean, Jose Johnson is a bantamweight, and Jose Johnson towers over really both these guys. I mean, Jose Johnson is bigger than both these guys, but RDA 5'8" at welterweight. And when he has fought at welterweight, he hasn't had a ton of success in terms of taking these bigger guys down. It's actually him that's getting taken down and controlled in a lot of these fights. So, is he going to be able to take down a much bigger guy, Vicente Luque, and hold him down and take his back? Maybe. So, stylistically, I think Luque is very live to win this fight. It's just on the Luque side, the big narrative this week is the whole brain hemorrhage, the brain bleed. Luque's taken a ton of damage throughout his career. And maybe that's starting to add up. And maybe Luque, although he's 7 years younger, he's probably taking more damage than RDA because Luque goes to war in every single fight. I don't remember one fight where it's not a war in a Luque. Maybe the Bilal Muhammad fight, but that's Bilal Muhammad who's not getting into war with anybody. But every other fight outside of the Bilal Muhammad fight, this guy is going to war. This guy is biting down on the mouthpiece. He's getting hit in the face. So Luque's taking a ton of damage, and then just add the brain hemorrhage, a little bit of a layoff here. I'm not sure we're going to get the best version of Luque. I'm not sure the best version of Luque exists anymore. Whereas RDA, he's 38, almost 39, but he still has a lot left in the tank, I'd say. I don't think RDA's, towards the end of his career like a Cub Swanson at this point. RDA still has went out there and had, very good performances his last couple fights. So stylistically, I lean Luque, but, the whole narrative is kind of swaying me off of it. So I don't have any spots that I like. The finish only was something that kind of stuck out to me on the Luque side. The finish only was sitting at like minus 160-ish on FanDuel Sportsbook. My concern with the finish only, though, is that obviously the brain hemorrhage, the brain bleed, the fact that Luque's taken all this damage. And then what I noticed in the Bilal Muhammad fight was Luque would give up his back every chance he got in the Bilal Muhammad fight. And I'm not sure he did that because it was Bilal Muhammad, and Muhammad's not really subbing anybody. But if he gives up his back to Vicente or to Rafael dos Anjos, there could be problems in that aspect of things, although Luque is a black belt. So I'm going to pick Luque to find a finish at some point, but I don't have a ton of confidence in him. Even without the whole narrative brain hemorrhage thing, I'm not sure I would have a ton of confidence in him anyway. I think it's a close fight. I see a lot of people very confident on either side. I'm actually shocked how many people are on RDA this week as a undersized welterweight, but we'll see if he can go out there and control Vicente Luque. I think that's what it all comes down to, and I think it all comes down to whether or not Dos Anjos his durability holds up across 25 rounds or 25 minutes. So give me Luque, no bet for me on this fight. Another Liang Na. I think I'm the only Liang Na fan out there. If there's another Liang Na fan out there, let me know. But I think I'm the biggest one out there for sure. Luque, bigger, younger, and he's a dog. All those are true. I got Hakeem, Budai, Lucinda, McGee. What do y'all think? I think they all win, but I wouldn't parlay any of them, quite frankly. But I think they all win. Luque should be able to win, but the stupid brain hemorrhage ruins the fight for me. Yeah, same, man. Kind of it is terrifying, but apparently he went through all the tests. He's all good to go, but just the thought, like the sound of it, man. At least to give him a good matchup. Dos Anjos bought a gym. He's mentally out. Potentially. I don't think he's mentally out. We'll see. RDA doesn't strike me as a guy who would check out mentally. RDA looked really good against Fiziev for 4 rounds. Luque is way slower than Fiziev. He looked decent. Against Fiziev there. Couldn't get the takedowns, but I think Fiziev's takedown defense is probably better than Luque's. I'm so nervous for Luque. I'm nervous about this matchup too, and I don't have any money on it. Excited for Singapore. Love Na. Me too. And by the way, the Singapore fight card, it starts at, I think I saw 6 a.m. Eastern time or like 7 a.m. Eastern time, something like that. Maybe it was 5 Eastern time. I think it was 5 Eastern it starts. So gonna have to get up early to watch Liang Na, because as far as I'm concerned, she's like the second fight on the entire card. So I'll be getting up at like 5 a.m. for Singapore in a couple weeks. Main card starts at 7 a.m. Central. Yeah, 8 East. Yeah, it can be an early card for sure. But we did it, guys. We went through all the fights, and after talking through it, I probably still won't have a bet on this card. So there are some parlay pieces that I was looking at in terms of maybe adding it to a parlay for something with UFC 292 next week. I think there's some solid parlay pieces sticking out for 292 next week. So I might be adding a parlay. I think McKenny Violence is a solid parlay piece, and then the McGee Buys Violence is a solid parlay piece. So I might do something with those. But if I do, I'll be posting a betting breakdown video probably tonight, if I decided to do it at all. And if I do, then I'll probably put something out on there in terms of like a parlay between this card and 292. But outside of that, nothing's really sticking out from a betting perspective. Might just be one I sit back and watch there. And that is a hot take. Luque gets finished. I think it would be by sub if he gets finished, or if the brain hemorrhage is affecting him in the matchup potentially. So, but it's always a hot take when we're talking about a guy like Luque getting finished. I mean, this guy's durability is next level. Man, you have to not be human to come back from a brain hemorrhage and not be psychologically scared as a family man too. Absent that injury, Luque all day, man. But no way I make the bet. Yeah, I'm not betting on this main fight. Wawa coffee, 24/7 espresso. There we go. Get some coffee. I love coffee myself. I'm going to 292. There you go. Gonna save some bets this week. I already have 5 units next week for 292. I have 2 big bets for next week already. All right. That is about it, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. Not the best card in the world, but is a card nonetheless. Next week, we'll be back with UFC 292, which is going to be a very, very good card. Really looking forward to UFC 292. A lot of spots sticking out already. I need to tape 2 or 3 more fights, and I'll be all taped for that card. I may or may not get an early breakdown out for it. At the very latest, it probably is going to be out on Sunday. So I'm very ahead right now. And it's all thanks to my walking treadmill desk. I invested in a walking treadmill desk, and since then, my productivity has skyrocketed. I'm able to do 2 things at once. I'm able to walk on my treadmill desk, and I'm on there for about 2 to 3 hours on that treadmill desk. I put it at high speed too. It's not like I'm going slow. I'm putting it on super high speed, watching these fights, taping these fights, writing notes, and I'm getting my workout done, getting more steps than ever. And then on top of that, I'm getting a ton of work done on that treadmill desk. So if you are on the fringe of potentially investing in a walking treadmill desk or not, I would lean towards you doing that, because it is the best thing that's ever happened to my life. I love my walking treadmill desk, and I don't know what I would do without it. But so, yeah, I'm almost done taping 292, and I'm almost done taping the Contender Series, and it's freaking Friday, so I'm very happy about that. Bill saying hit the likes. I agree. Got my guy Adrian with a $20 dono. Appreciate you. Another one, man. Appreciate that a ton. He's saying good luck, everyone. Great work as always, Brady. Good luck to you as well, Adrian. Good luck with your bets. I'm not really going to have anything this week, but if you do place anything, best of luck to you. Appreciate it. Appreciate you all. Ollie one, Forrest, all you guys. Pray for Vicente for what? He hasn't lost yet. But James, I've been following you for 5 years. Appreciate, yeah, James been here for the beginning then, because I think I'm going on my 5th or maybe 6th year at this point. All right, guys, best of luck. Like on your way out, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Go get yourself a treadmill desk. We'll see you later.